So I think the first item that I would love to talk about is about the force doctrine.
Okay.
Do you think that as human society kind of grew and advanced, do you think that force doctrine might be slowly shifting into something with like money or intelligence, where you know uh, the more money you have, maybe that would kind of give you more rights over than just raw force, like how we were like thousands of years ago. Same thing with intelligence and in terms of like strategizing your forces. Yeah.
No, money just seems
Not at all.
with a lot more money, you seem to be able to accumulate a lot more force. But force is required to safeguard your money. Do you agree with that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do kind of see that point.
Yeah. So
So
I mean, no, not really. It just cycles into itself, right? It's still force doctrine, force doctrine, force doctrine.
makes sense. I
Yep.
guess in my head, it's kind of like as people accumulate capital, that might be a incentive for people to follow those with more money. But I guess you're right. You do still have to kind of pay someone
To protect your
protect
money.
that.
Yep. And then
But
you
I
have
guess
to
for
and then
me,
you
it's
have
kind
to
of like
pay
chicken or the
people
egg,
then you have
right?
to pay people to protect you making more of it. So it's like it's just it all feeds into itself, really. Did you have anything
True.
else? It's ADL.
Yes. In terms of morality, I think I've seen you talk about this online a lot.
Well, hang
Do
on. If
you
we're gonna get into,
go
I'm
ahead?
not gonna, I'm gonna not gonna bog the stream down with moral philosophy today.
Okay.
That's not on the prompt. We're mostly talking about the political issues of the day. So if you want to dive in on those, Trump, Venezuela, party politics, any of that stuff, that's where we're gonna keep the focus.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Looking at the deltas, I think in terms of median income, GDP, and PPI, I think Biden was definitely like an outlier in terms of things going pretty badly. I think numbers wise, but between Obama and Trump, I'm not seeing like too big of a difference between like yearly wise, like yearly deltas between Obama's 8 years versus Trump's 4 years.
All right. And Ben, by the way, you can chime in whenever you want, dude. You
Yeah,
can chime in as well,
Of
Ben.
course.
Like this
I
is
think
it's open.
I think as a moderate, I think Biden definitely something went wrong with his brain or something. Was definitely like an outlier in terms of making the country worse, from what I can see. But would you say that Trump was way better than the Obama era, in your opinion?
Yeah.
Uh, how so?
Well, let's just
I
look. Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
So if you look at sort of Trump first term pre-COVID, so if we take out
Yep.
the fourth year, right? Like Trump's numbers were doing remarkably well, and here's what
Which
he had. That
numbers?
well, so just give me a chance to lay this out,
Okay.
right? So when we look at a lot of this data, actually Obama had an advantage that you would at first think would be something that would be a disadvantage, which is he was coming off the 2008 financial crisis. When you're
Okay.
starting very low, any increases that you have look remarkable. So if we bottom out, then what you would see is it's easy for the next president to all of a sudden have remarkable gains in things like unemployment numbers, real wage growth, etc. Trump comes in and we have a more stable economy and he's able to take it even further. Also, his focus was on things primarily about American citizens, manufacturing, things of that nature, which obviously I think that his first term wasn't as ambitious as his second term. But what you see here from the second term is he's doing a remarkable job of increasing real wage growth, and all of his job number gains are two things that are positive about him. They're going to American citizens and they're in the private sector. What you saw with the Obama administration was the continue of the mass growth of the federal government. And even though numbers like GDP go up when you have government jobs, those aren't really efficient and they're not really a good metric to look at the financial health of the United States. So I think Trump's doing a much better job than Obama, and not to mention the boondoggle of Obamacare and a bunch of other stuff that ended up negatively affecting after Obama's term us financially.
Yeah, I guess in your opinion, if you can kind of put a number to it, like, what percentage do you think Trump did better than Obama? Because, I would argue that when my parents were suffering through like the 2007 housing crisis, I think, unlike Biden that took over the COVID crisis and did not do very well with that. I kind of feel like what Obama did, at least when I was very young. I'm only 32 right now.
With quantitative
Was
easing,
very impressive in
he did.
terms of
He just
bring.
did
Go ahead,
quantitative
Bill.
easing, dude. That's all he did.
Okay.
He just infused the banks with billions of dollars so that they wouldn't fail. And it was, by the way, that this was Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. This was an Obama confidant who was in charge of this program. Are you aware of that?
I'm not super educated in that. No.
Okay. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. Have you ever heard of Barney Frank?
No.
Okay, you need to go look up Barney Frank, bro, and
Fair enough. Thank you.
dive into the quantitative easing scam that happened under Obama when he gave billions of dollars to these megala banks. They were
Hmm.
printing money like it was going out of style. Under the Keynesian economic model, they tend to do this, right? They don't want these banks to fail because otherwise your 401k is going to get wiped out, everything else. It skyrocketed inflation for future generations. Terrible thing. It was just massive money machine go burr. So
I guess in your opinion, when people kind of bring up things like these, same thing with the ACA. I always kind of like to ask, like, do you think that these people kind of did the best they could at that point in time under
no,
the circumstances, or is
no.
it more like hindsight they sucked?
No, even at the time, economists were saying that quantitative easing was going to skyrocket inflation for future generations, and they were right. This was on both sides that they said this. It was a massive cash grab for bankers, basically. That's what happened. They were giving out loans to people who couldn't afford them. A lot of them
Mhm.
part of the mass migration, which was happening at the time. Okay. They were giving people who were underqualified for these loans who didn't have a prayer in paying them back, and they were government backed loans.
Isn't
So
that
when the
why the
market
housing market crashed?
yeah, that's why it crashed, right? And so what Obama did in order to do
Uh huh.
something about this was quantitative easing. Now, Bush also he did some of that as well, but Obama did the majority of it, if memory serves. Isn't that correct, Rob? If you pull up the stats, I believe that
Yes, I
that's
believe.
right. Yeah, that
And
Obama did the most of that. Yeah.
I guess my question is, how did Trump come in and improve the situation that apparently was started under Bush that you mentioned, and
Well,
Obama kind of.
he went to the first thing he did, which was an awesome
Mhm.
move, is he went and negotiated with the Fed on interest rates. So that was great. That was one of
Okay.
the things that needed to happen immediately. And the other thing is that the Trump era policies on economics, especially with the tariffs, were a great idea. They were always a great idea. And the idea that I mean, if you look at Trump's economic policy, even
Mhm.
with his foreign policy combined, remember that Trump also went to foreign powers, made them pay their fair share when it came to the defense of their own nations, which is good. He was the first one to ever
Makes
do
sense.
that, right? And then here domestically, he also instituted a tax policy which lowered the corporate tax rate and led to massive job creation in the Midwest. It was a huge success. People were getting bonuses. It was great. I know. I was there. I was one of the people who got a bonus from it.
Makes sense. One last quick thing. So I think you briefly mentioned, and I mean this is a term kind of going around, Trump derangement syndrome, right? Like, I
TDS.
really, yep, I really dislike my leftist friends when I think Trump was making deals with like the whole Gaza situation. I think a lot of friends leaning farther left, they all just hate that, and they're all like negative about it because Trump was doing it. I personally disagree with that. I think maybe Trump should have gotten the Nobel Peace Prize. But do you also have any kind of
Well, Obama
concerns?
got the Nobel Peace Prize before
Yeah,
he was even president. And then when he became president, he started bombing countries. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, as a moderate, I totally think that Trump maybe have deserved it. I think a lot of people definitely dislike him for who he is, which he kind of rage baits. It makes sense to me. But I guess Uh, two quick questions about that. One, do you kind of approve of the way that he sort of rage baits? I know that it's funny at times, but in my
I like
opinion,
it
it's not a
also.
good way to unite the U.S. And then my
he's
second
not
thing
going to
about that
unite.
is,
He's not going to unite the U.S. The left hates
so
him. It wouldn't matter if he
yeah,
was prestigious or non-prestigious or
would you prefer a president that was more uniting?
No,
well, I don't.
right? That would make sense.
I want a president that represents my values, not yours.
Makes sense. Also, the second thing is, do you also think that there's a problem with some people maybe follow Trump regardless of what he does? Do you also find that, when we were learning about politics back in like high school and stuff, right? Like, I think part of my fundamental belief is that we should be criticizing our leader on whichever side. Do you think there's also on the opposite end of TDS that could be happening that might be dangerous for our country, or no?
I mean, you're going to have sycophants in politics no matter what you do.
Gotcha.
Like
They-
literally,
what's
there's
unique-
literally like you're going to have sycophants for influencers. You're going to have sycophants for actors. You're going to be, you don't achieve that level of fame without ending up with sycophants. It's just there's just no way around that.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And like, remember, let's not forget how Obama was basically seen as a messiah by so many people, right? He was untouchable. And the difference with Trump is, of course, you're going to have sycophants. And you might say that it's worse than like an average Republican president like George W. Bush or something. But the overwhelming of TDS and the people that just hate Trump for being Trump far surpasses the people that will agree with Trump. Let me give you a brief.
And by the way, it's ADL. I gave you as much time as I could for this.
Yes, sir.
For this call.
Thank
if
you.
you don't
Thank you.
mind disconnecting, I'd appreciate
course,
it.
of
Thank
course.
you, and then we could get.
Thank
to,
you.
We can get to
Please
Ben.
finish up your point, Rob, and I'm going to disconnect. You guys have a great rest of your Monday.
You too, man.
Yeah, like when you saw Pam Bondi come out and was like, we're going to go after hate speech. I don't know one conservative that was like, Trump administration, what are you doing? Compare that to like something like Obama or Joe Biden. Joe Biden was cognitively impaired the entirety of his presidency, and yet it was hard pressed to get any Democrat that we interacted with to admit it. So, yeah, it is true there are sycophants, and you always point to the sycophants and say, look, you should be able to criticize even people you support. But the people that make this deal about Trump, they ignore that it's far worse on the other side.